Hello everybody, welcome to MaffmanJones Movie Reviews. I'm your host John Maffio, and today's featured movie is The Belko Experiment. It's produced and written by James Gunn, who you may know from Slither, Super, Guardians of the Galaxy. It's also directed by Greg McLean, and it's about a office building in Colombia full of about 80 workers or so that basically goes into quarantine, shuts down with everybody locked inside, and an unknown voice on an intercom tells everybody to basically do as he says, or they will kill a bunch of coworkers because they all have little tiny chips in the back of their brain that will explode and make their heads explode if they don't cooperate. So these coworkers are forced into a situation where instincts and human nature come first, and the survival of the fittest is key. But who will survive and who will die? Who knows? To be perfectly honest, I had no expectations for this film, or even any real knowledge of it until a couple of months ago. But this is a great elevator pitch kind of movie where you're like, imagine Saw in an office. It's kind of like that. Just for that basic premise alone, it's worth a watch, especially if you're just curious to see weird original horror plots come to life on screen. This is a fun idea. Gruesome, brutal, gory, but fun idea. Is it taken completely seriously? If you know a thing or two about James Gunn, who wrote this movie, then it's not really. There are jokes, there is levity in moments, but for the most part, this is actually kind of surprisingly mostly serious. And the way people die is not funny at all. It's actually really sad, really brutal, but I mean, in a way, it makes sense. It's a fun idea to think about in your head, is that if you were stuck in an office building or wherever you work with all of your coworkers and you were forced to kill each other, what would happen? Would you listen to the voice that's telling you to kill everybody? Or would you try to find a way that, avoids death altogether and be a nice person? In my opinion, the potential that springs from a premise like this is mostly brought to fruition, and I really enjoyed, in a way, seeing how this direction of the film progresses from beginning to end, seeing who lives, who dies, who becomes dominant, who becomes subordinate. In a way, the whodunit thing, who is involved behind the scenes, isn't really a big focus here, and it didn't bother me personally, but the idea of seeing people getting picked off one by one, seeing who lives and dies, just was interesting enough for me to be engaged from beginning to end. All the actors brought serviceable performances. Nobody really stands out. John Gallagher Jr. I really liked in this movie. Also, the guy from Scrubs was really fun, even though he was really, really above creepy. Like, his bar for creepy was written to a point where it was like, I don't know if I believe he's a person anymore. But other than that, everybody did a good job for what they had to do. What's most impressive in this movie is the overall direction, because it goes in surprising and really dark places that I didn't expect it to go. The actual gory results of certain deaths was interesting. Seeing, surprisingly, what happens to certain characters made me super shocked. I jumped a couple times, not because it was scary, but because I was super shocked in an impressive way at what was going on. And by the end of the movie, I was pretty satisfied with the overall conclusion. There's nothing really thought-provoking or mind-bending about the film. It's a good, satisfying adventure in the horror genre, the thriller genre, but it does, in a sense, make you think just on a basic, general level what would happen if you were in the situation. But that's just a general idea that's going to happen when you see a movie like this. The actual movie is very surface level entertainment. It's one of those movies where if you are in for it, you're going to enjoy. But if you aren't, then stay away. I personally had a lot of fun with the movie, though. Belko Experiment isn't a movie that I'm going to flip out about by the end of the year. But when I look back on the horror movies that came out this year, the thrills that came out this year, this is going to be a fun one. It's not a bad movie, but it's not a great movie either. And it also helps show more support that in 2017, at least so far, that original ideas can be successful. And this is another original idea for the thriller/horror genre, and it kicks ass for what it wants to be. I'm going to give the Belko Experiment a 3.5 out of 5 stars. That's a darn good Applebee's meal. Now I want to know from you guys, what did you think of the Belko Experiment? Let me know in the comments down below. And also, sub-question, if you were placed in a situation like this, how would you go about it? Would you just shoot yourself? Would you try to defend yourself? What would you do? I would probably be one of the first people to die. I would probably be one of those people who does good enough to live, but then gets my brains blown out by the chip because luck is not on my side. That's just how it would be for me. If you enjoyed this review, please like it, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the rest of my social medias and my Odyssey page down below. Also share if you want to. I'm John Maffio, aka MaffmanJones, and I'll see you guys next time.